I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Fjallraven Skule 28, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. If you've seen our review of the 20-liter version of this bag, then this is going to look very, very, very familiar. If you haven't, definitely go and check that out. But in terms of other Fjallraven bags, this definitely has more of like an outdoorsy look to it. And this one is kind of designed to be like that hybrid bag, right? So this is good for every day, but also has a couple of different features that make it nice for if you want to go have a little bit more of like an adventurous afternoon wherever you are. So on the outside here, it's pretty basic. We have a 600D Oxford fabric. It's a like recycled polyester. And YKK zips and Woojin buckles kind of around the bag here. So in terms of weight, we also have, it's about 1.65 pounds. So pretty lightweight when it's unpacked, but it does feel very sturdy and durable. Like all of the stitching in true Fjallraven fashion is very sturdy. I don't have any like blemishes around this bag over the course of my testing. It's still in really, really, really good shape. Comes in a few different colorways as well, depending on your preferences. But we do have a couple of external features to look at here. On the very bottom, we have a reflective like loop. This is a bike light loop, and then we also have two reflective loops on the side here. You can use these to attach gear, so if you want to hang something off of here or a bike light off of here. The reflective light, it's like the reflective strip itself isn't super bright. It's kind of nice to have, but it's not like as reflective as I've seen on other reflective strips. So something to keep in mind, but a good spot to hang a bike light if you're using this in that way. We also have this lashed strap kind of elastic loop situation on the front here, and you can adjust the kind of how tight it is using that cinch on the top here. So you can cinch everything down, you can make it a little bit looser. I use this to carry like dirty shoes or something like that. Like I use it for like my slides for the gym or something similar. But for the most part, I just kind of kept this tightened down, and it never got in the way or anything, but it does sort of add to that like outdoorsy aesthetic. You can also put like a rain jacket or something in here. And then we also have compression straps on the sides. So these side compression straps do a really good job at kind of locking down the fit of the bag, but they do block the zippers, which I find to be pretty annoying. You'll see when I get into that main compartment. That's more of like a personal preference thing for me, honestly. Some people really don't care that it blocks zippers. I personally don't love it, but they do have clips that are very easy to undo if that is something that you want to just kind of get in a little bit faster and have them out of the way. Even though the back panel is pretty simple and the harness system is pretty straightforward, I do find it to be very comfortable. So we have a mesh like panel all the way up here, a little bit of aeration right here, but not a ton. So if you're someone who gets really hot and sweaty when you're traveling, maybe this isn't going to be the best option for you. But it is very comfortable. Like I don't feel like when the bag is even really heavy, I don't feel like I'm really lacking that much cushion. I think it's more of the harness system itself, like with this hip belt, which we'll get to in a second. But what I like about this is like the mesh kind of comes up onto the straps. So in this area is where it would kind of bump up against your neck. And if that's the case, you have this nice soft mesh that adds a little bit of comfort. You also have more reflective strips right here, and then you have a sternum strap as well. This is very kind of set it and forget it because it's not on a rail system. It's like these individual loops. So I just put it in one spot and then I just kind of left it there. And then on this larger version, you do have the option for this hip belt. You can remove it if you want to. You just kind of like feed this through and you can take it off. But for the most part, I just left this on, and I either tightened it really tight against this back panel to keep it out of my way, or I actually utilized it. The 20-liter version of this bag doesn't have this. It doesn't add a ton of like comfort or anything like that because it is just a nylon, very simple nylon strap. But it does add a decent amount of stability, especially when the bag is full and you're a bit more active. So this is the bag when it's on. I have a 16-inch torso, and it does feel a little bit long on me, this 28-liter size. The 20-liter size is much more comfortable. It fits more kind of like up here, and I feel like it's kind of dragging down a little bit less. With this one though, it still is comfortable, all that said. Like I can feel it on my lower back, but it doesn't really feel like it's like super digging in or anything like that. But if you do have a longer or a larger torso, this might be something that's more interesting to you. You know, overall pretty comfortable fit. And I do like all of the strap keepers around here. We have strap keepers on this hip belt. We have them on the actual, you know, shoulder adjustment straps and then the sternum strap as well. So you can kind of keep that fit locked in tight. But like I mentioned with this hip belt, it does add a little bit of stability. Like, you know, if I'm moving around a ton, it's not really like moving the backpack around a lot, and it's not going to come up off of my back a ton, but it's not actually like adding any lift or anything like that for support of weight. So just kind of depends on how it feels on your torso size, I would say, more than anything. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. Looking at the secondary compartments all around this bag here, we can start off with the water bottle pocket. So what I really like about these is that it's a really this is a mesh, so it's nice and stretchy, but it's a very tight closed mesh. So it doesn't actually, I guess it's less mesh and more like of an elastic. So it kind of has this nice professional look to it, which, you know, sometimes outdoorsy-ish bags can be a little bit, they'll have a really wide open mesh or something like that. And it just kind of detracts from the look if you're looking for something a little bit more sleek. So I do really like that, and it does a pretty decent job stretching around bottles. So I've got the, actually let me put it on the other side here so I don't mess with the zippers, but with this bottle, it's a decent sized pocket. This is a 24-ounce water bottle. You can get a decent size bottle in here. You can see there's even some room to spare, if you want to put a Nalgene or something in here. But what I did notice is that when the bag wasn't packed out all the way, this felt pretty loose compared to the 20-liter bag. It was a little bit tighter with the bottle, even if the bag wasn't full. And in general, it was easier to fill that bag a little bit more. Whereas this one, for everyday carry, this 28 liters could be a little bit overkill for me. So sometimes I'd stick my bottle in there and it just felt a little bit too loose for my liking. So kind of mileage will vary. If you wanted to, you could always feed a handle through this strap here to kind of lock it in place. So there are some little life hacks you could theoretically do if you wanted to. We also have a top quick grab pocket, which is by this carry handle. I forgot to mention this earlier, but very, very simple handle, very easy to grab. No padding, it's just a nylon little strap, but it's very easy to hang off of a hook or something. So that's pretty nice. Nothing really special to note there. It doesn't hit me in the back of the neck or anything either. But this here is where I put a lot of my small items. So in here I have my phone, I have my AirPods, which that's a whole thing. And then I have my chapstick and my keys. So you can see that was a pretty full pocket. I would say that's about the max I could fit in there. And my keys are pretty bulky. So if you have fewer keys on your keychain, then that might not be an issue. But this is a nice and short key leash. What I like about it is that then my keys weren't flopping all over this compartment. They stayed pretty central to this area, so that was nice. But this pocket, in the 20-liter, I did notice that it could fill out pretty quickly. So if I had a ton of items in here and then I tried to shove a phone in, sometimes it would just be like if I had my wallet in here in this pocket, instead I would probably do it instead of my phone because I would just start to run out of space. So that's not the best, but I do think this pocket, if it was any bigger, might just be overkill, so I don't really have any complaints. Just something worth noted, you might run out of space for tiny items. If you do, that is where this front pocket comes in handy. So in here, I'm gonna push all this off to the side actually. This is where I stuck kind of accessory items. So I have a hat, in here I also have a hoodie for an extra layer. And then we have some pockets here that we can utilize. So in here I have a charger. I forgot to put my cable in here, but you can see this mesh pocket. We got two mesh pockets here. I put what I did usually, I did a couple overnight and weekend trips with this bag. And what I did was I would put my charger for my laptop in here with a cable, and then bring an additional cable, maybe put it on this side, or stick some toiletry bottles or my deodorant or something over here on the other side. And then if you don't want to use those pockets, they just kind of stay out of the way. And then we have a zippered pocket here, which I was able to fit a Kindle in here. So that's a good pocket for that if you want to keep it out of the way. But I would say the biggest thing to note with this pocket in general is the fact that it goes all the way down to the bottom, and it does have some independent storage space. So as you saw, I fit a whole hoodie in there, and this thing is not packable by any means. So if you want that extra space, that's really great. But I did have a hard time where, you know, if I put my phone in here, this pocket's pretty loose and it goes all the way down to the bottom. But if I put something in like here that I was a little worried about falling out, if it does fall out, it goes all the way to the bottom there. So that's something to keep in mind. But when I didn't pack this pocket out, it didn't look weird or anything. Like it didn't look like it was like, you know, sometimes if you don't pack a pocket, your bag can look like collapsed or something. This didn't happen with that. It flattened pretty well on its own if it wasn't completely full with gear. So from a design standpoint, I really like that, just mostly because I didn't fill this front pocket up all the time with all my stuff. And now heading into the main compartment. So this is mostly where I started to see the impact of those side compression straps. So with this, like usually for the most part, I'll show you why they ended up down here. But with this, like I'd have to kind of reach under and open up one of the zippers. And then usually what I would do is I would just pull it down to that compression strap. And then I wouldn't really do anything other than just like open the bag the rest of the way. And then you can see that it naturally goes underneath that compression strap. So what I mean by this is like, even if I very intentionally always left my zippers up here so that they were easy to open the bag, whenever I would fully open the bag, they always ended up right back under those straps, and then I'd have to fish them back out anyway. So again, this is very much a personal preference thing. It just kind of annoys me in general. You might not even care. So I wouldn't say it's a make or break thing with this bag. What you do see here is also these compression straps just kind of like give it a little bit of extra support so the bag doesn't fall completely open. But what I have in here is kind of like a weekend's worth of stuff. So this is a, you know, big tech pouch, but you could also like, this is like the size of like my personal toiletry bag. And then we have a smaller toiletry bag, which honestly, this is more on par with my tech pouch. And then we have a big old packing cube that this is like a weekend's worth of gear if I were to like wear the same pair of pants the entire time. I did get, this is like I mentioned, a 28-liter bag. I did get a full weekend of clothing in here, no problem. I didn't get a second pair of shoes because it's just that took up a ton of space, but I was able to get, you know, pajamas, a change of clothes, a couple different tops. I think I got like a sweater in here. And then I had, you know, it was pretty much packed to the brim, but I got like my toiletry bags and things like that I put inside this front compartment, and like they could fill all that like bottom space too. So it does feel like a very roomy bag. And, you know, if you're somebody who wants to have something that could very easily go from like taking it to work and then going out for the weekend, like this is a really great bag for that. The 20-liter was good for overnights, but less so like a whole weekend or something like that. So that I would definitely recommend sizing up if that's something that you're interested here. Just keeping in mind that this is like a little bit too wide this way, I believe, for like a personal item bag on a lot of airlines. So if they check you, you might run into problems. If they don't check you, you might not. But the last feature in here, I mean, because this is just like a big empty space, there's a little bit of a base down here at the bottom, and it does have a very, very slight taper to it. I noticed that when I packed a lot of really flat items on the bottom, the bag kind of like supported itself a little bit better. But if I had like this, you know, I have this packing cube, I have a couple of different pouches, the bag did struggle to stand up on its own, just because like the top of this base is like slightly higher than the very, very bottom of the pack. So not a type of bag that like you set down is guaranteed to stand up on its own every single time. Again, deal breaker for some, not for others. But the inside of it is just an empty space. You can fill how you please. All of that organization's in that front pocket. The only thing we have here is a laptop compartment. So this has a nice false bottom. It stops about, I mean, if we're looking at it in comparison to the back panel, it stops about here. So you do have, you know, a little bit of drop protection there. This is rated for up to a 15-inch laptop, so you could do that if you want to. This is a 16-inch MacBook Pro printed, 3D printed copy. And you can see there, it fit in there with basically no room to spare. So if you have a slightly larger device, you might be able to get to fit. The only thing is it starts to run into like kind of competing for space with this particular pocket here, which is like that drop pocket. And then you can also have this double as like a pocket for a water bladder or something like that. And I believe there is a pass-through pocket here. Yes, it's right here. So this is a pass through, so you can use this as a water bladder. You can go on like a hike on the weekend, feed that through, and then use these clips on the front to keep that in place. So pretty versatile bag, but it looks pretty casual, which is I think one of its strong suits. So there you have it, the Fjallraven Skule 28. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.